everybody, I'm Lisa Young Sutton, and today we are going to examine the Lenormand Whip card. The Whip is the card of intense back and forth action, and at its core, it's the fight card. You'll be battling with someone or something when this card is near. When you see this card, consider words and phrases such as discord, effort, drama, tension, struggle, debate, disagreement, scathing remarks, dissension, assertion, dispute, discipline, reprimands, correction, punishment, castigation, criticism, ridicule, sarcasm, irritation, agitation, aggression, violence, conflict, friction, annoyance, anger, animosity, strife, frustration, or inflamed situations. It's what I call the angry communication card, and it's most often communication within personal relationships. The sayings, getting a tongue lashing, getting your knickers in a twist, being fit to be tied, getting a rise out of someone, cracking the whip, passion gone wrong, or saying things in the heat of passion can all help you understand the primary vibe of this card. Emotions run high with the whip. Whips are used to coerce, punish, threaten, or overpower. It's a card of repeated effort, overexertion, refusing to back down, power struggles, fighting for control or domination, ill feelings, and retribution. Its core energy is negative, and descriptive meanings include angry, aggressive, abusive, harsh, strenuous, conflictual, nagging, punitive, addictive, or painful. It can describe any activity that is strenuous and repetitive, such as exercise or cleaning. It's one of the two sex cards because of its intense, repetitive nature, but it doesn't refer to the blissful sex that's a product of love. It may describe rape, sexual deviation, kinkiness, sexual addictions, masturbation, or simply one-night stands intended to satisfy urges. The whip does relate to sex in another way. During the 13th and 14th centuries, religious flagellants would whip themselves repeatedly as a form of self-inflicted corporal punishment for their sexual urges. And you can see in my book that I have an entire section on sex, the whip or the lily. So go ahead and read that if you haven't already done so. Okay. If the whip appears when describing a person, they may be aggressive, or verbally assertive, sharp-tongued, combative, abrasive, critical, loud and agitated, quick-tempered, someone with a short fuse who's prone to repeated angry outbursts, someone who likes to stir up trouble, one who's overly disciplined, or someone with OCD. They may have a vengeful, wait a minute, I can say this, vengeful or vindictive personality. Depending on other cards, it could describe an assassin, a renegade, an antagonist, an activist, a whistleblower, or even a masochist. Occupations include an attorney, a debater, a critic, a sex therapist, an aerobics instructor, or bodybuilder. In a daily draw, it may say that it's going to be a day of some sort of struggle and effort. You may have to repeat things or do something over and over until you get it right. But be alert for disagreements with others when it appears in your daily. It may just represent a day that you'll spend in any strenuous or repetitive activity. In advice readings, it may tell you to stop struggling, that you're making things harder than necessary, or don't beat yourself up, or don't speak when you're angry, or you'll say things you regret, and those hurtful words cannot be taken back. Okay, or it could tell you that it's time to stop repeating negative habits or patterns. May tell you to fight back and not to back down from a challenge. In a work or business reading, it can refer to heated negotiations, disputes, repeated corrections, harsh critiques, accusations, arguments with coworkers or bosses, or being chastised by the boss. In a spiritual reading, it may indicate a need to eliminate addictions or bad habits. It may recommend chanting or dancing, It could tell you to stop struggling in an attempt to reach enlightenment. That results will come when you relax and allow it to happen naturally. In other words, get into a state of allowing rather than a state of assertion. Okay, in a relationship reading, it will indicate general disharmony, arguments, disagreements, and not seeing eye to eye. But it may indicate getting a rude brush off or incessant nagging or rehashing of painful memories. If it's referencing sex, it may refer to disagreements regarding sexual preferences or sexual perversion on somebody's part. Or it could be describing intense makeup sex after a fight. If the cards are indicating that there are other people involved in the relationship, the whip can refer to negative interference. In health readings, the whip generally refers to recurring health conditions that you're fighting, relapses, fever, and back and forth pain. It can signify inflammation, infections, muscle aches, or stiffness, especially from overuse, rheumatic disorders, hoarseness or stuttering, OCD, or male fertility issues, whereas female fertility issues belong to the moon card. It can also refer to a medical dispute. Anatomically, it refers to the muscles as well as the vocal cords and throat. And you'll find more references to health regarding this card in my book. Now, looking at these cards we got on the table, we see a lot of whips, right? Now, here's the primal Lenormand. That's showing the original image or emblem. And you can see that it shows a birch rod. Okay, now the term birch rod is often shortened to just birch or just rod. Think of the old phrase, spare the rod and spoil the child, because that really pertains to this card, right? So a birch rod is a bundle of leafless twigs bound together to form a tool for administering corporal punishment. And many modern decks will display a whip to represent the same thing. Okay, now some decks will show, like here we have the Chakra Lenormand, and it shows a broom. And just know that that is not the core function of the card, that this reference to cleaning or clearing. But, and she does have a whip there too. But you have to keep in mind, this is the Chakra Lenormand. This is a spiritual-based deck, so that's why she chose the broom for the dominant image. Okay, the fairy tale fortune card says the whip, conflict, and irritation at home. Right on. And the verse card says, the rod never announces joy, just annoyance at the home fire. Illness or even discord is what mostly will transpire. And you can see that some decks really are showing that this is related to sex, right? And oh, here we have the, which one is this? The, yeah. You know, whenever I need to think of the name right away, I can't, but you know what deck that is. That, it shows him whipping himself. So that's great. No, wait, I have the box right here because, darn it, I'm going to remember the name of that. Oh, it's the Mystical Lenormand. Okay, thank you. Jeez. All right, let's compare it to a few cards. I'm using my Maybe Lenormand for this. We can compare it to the Rider because of the references to exercise, right? So the Rider is the general card of activity and exercise, whereas the Whip is strenuous and repetitive exercise. We can compare it to the Ways for more than one option. The Ways is more than one option or going a different way, whereas the Whip refers to repeating the same thing over and over and over. Oops, can't do that with one finger. We can compare it to the Scythe. The Scythe represents sudden aggression, while the Rip refers to repetitive back and forth discord or, you know, aggression, right? And the Whip is a persistent or recurring pain, whereas the Scythe is sudden and stabbing pain. So they have a couple things in common. Now these two are opposites, right? The Lily is the card of harmony within a relationship or family harmony, whereas the Whip is the opposite. It's the disruption of harmony. And we can also compare it to the birds regarding communication, because the birds is the card of nervous chatter, gossip, or superficial talk, while the whip refers to heated discussions or arguments. Okay, thank you, maybe Lenormand. All right, now I'm going to stick the grand tableau in front of you while I talk about the method of distance and the original translations and all that fun stuff. All right, so this is the 1889 Lenormand Mini. Cute deck. And come here, my little candle. Okay, you can see that. All right, so the plot. What do the original instructions have to say? The rod means quarrels in the family, domestic afflictions, want of peace among married persons, also fever and protracted illness. So you can see that the original instructions definitely refer to dissension among family members and domestic disturbances and all that, right? And, you know, the word domestic refers to family and household members, but also encompasses those we have any personal relationship with. And this is also going to describe any situation that becomes heated enough to set us off. And in many cases that the drama we experience outside of the home is brought home and affects our personal relationships. Okay, so the original game instructions, the game of hope, said, so as not to be castigated by the rod, one pays 2 marks. For this, one gets to move forward 2 spaces to the child card. And to me, that seems like it's like you're getting a timeout, right? You had to pay to avoid getting whipped, but you were then sent to your room to be punished and think about what you've done. All right, the coffee card verse. Favorably placed, it represented differences of opinion with relatives, and unfavorably placed indicated illness. So whether it's near or far has no positive meaning, and it's, you know, pretty much identical to the original instructions for the Petit Lenormand, right? All right, so the method of distance guidelines are that this is the card of battle, and you don't want it near your card. Period. Punkt. All right, so if near, you can expect struggles, disagreements, or a need to defend yourself. You want to check to see if there are any life area cards near, because that will indicate in what area of your life this disruption of harmony will occur. You definitely don't want to see it near you with the tree or the house or the love cluster. And if it falls with the tree near the seeker, they're going to be battling a health issue. You know, an illness or a health issue, right? Now, if it's far, the seeker may not have to battle anything during the time period, as long as the other cards support that. But regarding health, if the tree and whip fall together but are far from the seeker, it can show that something is brewing or that an illness might return if changes aren't made or warnings aren't heeded. So look at the cards around this pair, the tree and the whip, and look to see what cards are around the seeker and see what cards are connecting all of it for more details. Now this is a card with a directional cue. It says that the card next to the whipping end of the emblem will show the cause of the discord or what needs to be punished or admonished. And it's not an easy directional cue to use for most decks, because most modern decks, even the I think my Dundorf has 2. It has a birch rod and a whip, you know. So in other words, there's 2 active ends. It's kind of like my Stralsunder Lenormand that has the scythe card is actually 2 sides. So, you know, there's one pointing left and one pointing right. So, you know, you can't really use a directional cue if that's the case. All right, clusters. It is part of the health and well-being cluster. And looking at this GT, this was a GT for a young woman. There she is. You can see the whip is near her. Remember, the cards immediately touching her are her very near cards. The next layer out are her near cards. That's all called her comfort zone. The next layer out from that would be her far, and then we have this column here for her very far cards. So this was an advice reading for a young woman who was clinging to a relationship with a man who she knew was unfaithful, but she believed that her love would change him. How many times have you heard that, professional card readers? Okay, so like I said, this is an advice reading. So what this said to me was that she would be battling, or she was battling, a matter of the heart, right? There's your life area card for your emotions and passions, right, and love, okay? So she was being warned. There's the scythe, the hand, she's being drawn into the scythe, right, and the point is facing the whip, okay? So she was being warned that she needed to bring a swift end to a repetitive pattern that was eating away at her regarding her heart. All right? Scythe for swift end. Repetitive pattern is the whip. It was eating away at her. The mice is influencing it from above regarding the life area card right here, her heart. All right? Now, this would, if she heeds this warning, right? This warning scythe here. If she heeds the warning, it would lead to the change that she's been longing for regarding her desires, which will then begin to take shape. So that's where it's all heading. That's the ship and the stork above the heart and the stars. And you can see that she is standing on the coffin, right? She's standing on a painful ending. And it's what the rider is bringing to her. But that ending is standing on a new beginning, right? So we can say that this fresh start that she really needs is currently having the life sucked out of it by the coffin. Why? What's above her? The ways. The ways sits above her head, between her and the man. She hasn't made up her mind yet, which is why she came for the reading, right? And, you know, you can see that, the fox is near, telling her not to trust someone she thinks she can trust. The dog is far, showing disloyalty rather than loyalty. You can see the love cluster is all out of her reach, and she's got the ring to the left saying this relationship will not continue, yada yada, so on and so forth. So yeah, it all came together here. Anyway, that's it for the whip card, my friends. Thanks as always for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye, everybody.